You know, I'm about 20 feet away from this car and I can smell it all the way out here. I don't know how people deal with these things, but here's what I mean by the smell. So the first thing I really should have done after getting it is this right here. When you still got a little bit of life left in your air freshener, let me show you a cool trick. This is what you do. You take them and you throw them in the garbage. So you want to know whether or not the spark actually sparks, and I do too. Now, it would have been totally irresponsible if I just went ahead and cranked the motor right over, not knowing a little bit more about this car. Now, we already saw the very low water line. Let me show you again real quick. So if we look at the bottom of the door here, we can see where the water rose up. I haven't cleaned this obviously, and see how it makes a perfect line. That is exactly where the water rose in this car, to the bottom of the door. So if we kind of go and look in the door jamb here, and we see it ends there, we kind of went around to the bottom of the fender. That would be around here. Of course, on the outside of the car, it's probably washed off by rain, just being outside for so long. It goes around here. Water got up to, basically, if we look down in the engine bay, you know, underneath where the battery is. If we're looking at the motor here, and the sparks are back there, spark plugs, coolant is here. So really the water maybe came up to the bottom of there where the belt is running. In my opinion, that makes this car pretty much ready to go ahead and crank it right now. But let's just check the air filter really quick, make sure it didn't get wet, because of course YouTube has taught us that sometimes cars can get hydrolocked without even being flooded. All right, so now I'll just lift this, and that is a beautiful sign right there, guys. So we'll take this out really quick. So look, check this out. This is beautiful. This is exactly what you'd want to see. Obviously the water didn't get that high, so we figured that'd be good. That got wet and then dried out again. It's like when paper gets wet and then dries out, it becomes kind of crunchy. It might be falling apart a little bit. So right there, I mean, we're already pretty good. So as we saw from last time, this car battery is dead. And like I told you, pretty much every single car I've ever picked up from auction, the battery always comes dead. It doesn't just come weak, it comes completely dead. Now, the big difference between a weak battery is if you go ahead and try and charge it, it's gonna charge. But a completely dead battery won't take a charge, at least in my experience, correct me if I'm wrong, because the battery charger doesn't sense that there's a battery there. But I got a really cool trick that you guys can use at home, especially if you have, you know, a battery tender or a battery charger or a trickle charger of some sort. This is going to save you a lot of time and money. So instead of hooking up the jumper box again, trying to jump this car, I want to charge this battery. But like I said, since it has lost a complete charge, we got to do a little bit of rigging. Let's pull it out of the car, and then I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right, now that the battery is out of the car, it's down here. Look how tiny this battery is. Right here, I have a battery charger, but like I told you, this battery charger won't send a charge to this. Again, at least in my experience, because it's not sensing that there's a battery there since it's completely been drained. I don't want to use the word completely dead. Completely dead would imply that the battery's no good. I've got to go trade it in and get a new one. I think this battery should still work. Usually most people's batteries work when their cars get totaled. But let me tell you how I revive auction car batteries, and it's worked pretty much every single time for me. Right here I have obviously my Audi, and just since it's more convenient to get to than the ST, that's what we're using. I have the cables running from the charger, that's the smaller ones, to the battery. I also have the bigger ones here are a set of jumper cables. They're also connected to the battery. What we're going to do is, this is the other end of the jumper cables. We're going to take positive, and then we're going to take negative or ground and put it on there. Now this is not plugged in yet. Next, we're going to plug it in, and we're going to send charge to the Audi battery. Then the Audi battery, through the jumper cables, is going to send a little bit of charge to our tiny battery. And what that will end up doing is going ahead and giving that a little bit of charge. Once it has a little bit of charge, we can just go ahead and send a direct charge to our spark battery, and there you go. We revived a battery. I can't tell you how many times I've been at a body shop and they're like, get us a new battery, we're tired of jumping it. And it's like, no, if you would just do me a favor and get me the battery out of the car, or I usually go and take the battery out of the car myself, and I go and charge it for them like this and give it back to them. It works fine. All right, while we're waiting for that battery to finish charging so we can go ahead and start the car up, I just wanted to tell you guys, if you legitimately had a flood car that was in a much worse flood than this, just talking about saving the drivetrain components, the major stuff under the hood. After doing what we did, checking the dipstick and also checking the air filter, you're gonna go ahead and then pull the spark plugs. You're gonna wanna drain all the fluids out of it. You're gonna wanna change the oil. Now, all the guys that love flood cars swear by a product. It's called Marvel Mystery Oil. I personally have never tried it. This is not an endorsement for them. I'm pretty sure it's very similar to Seafoam, which I have used. And really on newer cars, I don't use that stuff because it's just not necessary. But guys that are into this game, buying flood cars and repairing them, they take the Marvel's Mystery Oil and they dump it in the crankcase, putting it through the oil filler there. They then leave it just for a little while. They drain everything out and they do like 1 to 2 oil changes to make sure all the moisture is out of the engine. They go ahead and they start it up without the spark plugs in it. If water did get in everywhere and the flood was real high, when you try and start the car without the spark plugs, you'll see something that looks like this. Then some people like to shoot WD-40 in the spark plug holes. There's all sorts of rituals and tricks to try and get a flood car to run. I'm not doing any of those, once again, because our flood line is so low and we've pretty much figured that it didn't get anywhere too important. Now, if I didn't mention something that you know about, definitely mention your ritual for getting flood cars to run in the comments section below. It would be fun to check out what you have to say. But we're only moments away of trying to start this thing again. I'm just waiting for that battery to charge, and then we're gonna crank it up. A lot of people commented, hey bro, you gotta put your foot on the brake in order to change the gear on the selector knob. And of course, I know that. Number 2, a bunch of people told me, well, you know there's an emergency release latch somewhere that just will shift the shifter in the gear. And I do know that as well. And most cars around the trim, like the trim here, there's usually a little square in the corner. You can put a coin or a key in it, pop it out, and then you stick that key or you stick a screwdriver down in that hole and it will manually release this out of park if your car ever gets stuck in park. I'm pretty sure that's what this is for because there's nothing else around here whatsoever. I looked, I messed around, I looked online before I went ahead and just broke it. Now it does this. If this was an Audi or a BMW or something that we weren't going to hack apart, I would have never ever went and forced that. I would have done more research. I would have started disassembling the entire car just to fix that. I don't like breaking stuff, but really the intentions of this car were to break it down, so I'm not too worried about breaking that. But the more and more I take a look at this car and I see kind of the condition of the body and everything like that, it's really in decent shape except for the fact that the person that owned it before wasn't the cleanest, which we'll talk about that later. Now, enough of me talking. Let me go get that battery. Let's throw it in the car. Let's try and start it. And guys, if it starts, you better hit that like button. All right, guys, can you see we have power here on the dash? You just turn the key. My foot, of course, is on the brake pedal. And here we go. Turns right over, no problem whatsoever. Sounds kind of like a tiny little 4-cylinder to me. So we know it runs, but does it drive? Tune in next time. Nah, I'm not gonna do that to you guys. Come on, let's get in. It's gotta drive, right? So look, I just want to show you, my foot's not on the brake right now. Here's our shifter, and the car will go into drive without putting your foot on the brake now because I broke the safety. Now, did you hear that when I put the car in drive and in park, it locked all the doors and unlocked them? So a lot of the electronics seem to be working just fine. Let's do this. Works. Okay, guys, this car, this might be the new daily. Maybe we'll get rid of the Audi S3. What do you think? Actually, you know, we do have to get rid of the Audi S3 soon because of rebuild project purposes. But all right, car's in drive and we're off. We're taking it off-road. Well, you know what? This could make for a really good golf cart. Just gotta get this disgusting odor that's coming from it. It smells like cigarettes. Doesn't even smell like mold. Guys, this car runs just fine. It's got a CVT transmission. That's why it probably sounds real revvy. But we'll put it in low gear, see what that does. Let's see, does the radio work? The radio works as well. I mean, everything pretty much works except for what I broke. I mean, does this? Let's see, does OnStar work? So I was gonna say, let's check the check engine light with my code scanner, but look, the check engine light went off on its own. It doesn't even have a code on it. Oh my gosh. Well, it's got low tire pressure, but that's no big deal. Yeah, this thing is like great.
I'm Ron Burgundy? Damn it! Who typed a question mark on the teleprompter?
Horn works. This thing is kind of great. And like I said, I hardly paid anything for it. And you're wondering, how much did I pay for it? Let me bring you inside. Let me show you the receipt. I'll show you exactly what I paid for it. I got all my paperwork here. I'm just going to put it up on the screen for you guys to see. Basically, the winning bid on this car, which was live, $1,150 through erepairables.com. The buyer fee, this is what the auction charges you, $220. Then they have a service fee of $59. Then they have an internet fee. An internet fee, I mean, my God, wouldn't you want people bidding on the internet and not showing up physical? They charge you for that $49 for that. The total for the Spark right here, $1,478. So that is a running, operating 2015 Chevrolet Spark with minimal issue. I think they're figuring out whatever the shifter thing and the steering column thing, I'm sure they're oriented. Yes, I'm going to say it again for all the people that are like, hey, Brainiac, go ahead and hit the brake pedal. I'm hitting the brake pedal when I was trying to shift it in gear. Now, I will mention to you, when I got the car, the key was actually stuck in the ignition, kind of like it is now. When I say stuck in the ignition, you can't turn it all the way to off to pull it out. So it just turns the accessory on mode and you can't get it one more notch to pull the key out. Now, it could have been that where the water got in, could have been around where the switch is for when you hit the brake to then shift it in gear, causing that to not work. The car does recognize it's in park, drive, reverse. As you saw me driving it around, all that stuff works. Now, one of the big reasons I bought this car, besides needing parts, is I wanted to show you guys, flood cars are a real disaster. Now, this kind of backfired on me, but in a good way. This car is really, really great. Now, there's a few other reasons we'll discuss in the future why I will likely never ever register it, flip it, do anything like that, and have it for road use. But we do have a golf cart, and this is kind of the same size. It could make one hell of a golf cart. An idea for a future video. Now, if you have an idea of what to do with this Chevrolet Spark, definitely let me know in the comment section below. I'm kind of puzzled. I was getting ready to disassemble it, take the whole front end off. It almost works too good for that. but I probably still will harvest a few parts from it, some of the unnecessary stuff like airbags, things that sell for a decent amount of money especially. So if you do have an idea for this Chevrolet Spark, or if you have any questions, something that maybe I forgot to cover, definitely put it in the comments section below. Like I said, this is not our main rebuild project, and the secondary car coming is also not going to be our main rebuild project, but the second car coming I think will make for a very, very fun project. One I am really hoping you guys will enjoy, and I think there's a lot of different things we can do with that other car that I do plan on taking, getting it all fixed, rebuilt, registering for road use. You'll find out more about that later. I'm still on the hunt for a good project car. If you see anything that catches your eye, definitely forward it to me, samcrackauto@gmail.com. It might make for a good car of the day as well. And as always, any questions, anything like that, be sure to hit me up on Instagram or email me as well. Everything you need to do so is in the description box below. Guys, I really appreciate you watching. Come on, you gotta hit the thumbs up. We got a $1,500 car that runs, drives, and is a 2015 with only 30,000 miles. I think it's kind of a great deal, so definitely hit that like button for a working, operating Chevy Spark. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will catch you very soon.